Karol G and Bruno Mars make history with first ever live performance of Still at SoFi Stadium. What happens when two global superstars finally bring one of the most anticipated collaborations to the stage for the very first time? That question was answered in Los Angeles, as Karol G and Bruno Mars joined forces at SoFi Stadium for a performance that instantly became one of the most talked about moments of her Viajando por el Mundo Tropitour. Before we get into every detail of this unforgettable moment, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment telling us what you thought about Karol G and Bruno Mars performing Still together for the first time. Because this wasn't simply another concert appearance. It was the live debut of a collaboration fans had been waiting to see. The atmosphere inside SoFi Stadium was already electric. Thousands of fans had gathered for Night 7 of Karol G's Viajando por el Mundo Tropitour, expecting a massive night filled with her biggest songs, spectacular production, and the energy that has made her one of the most influential Latin music stars in the world. But as the show continued, the anticipation surrounding one particular possibility became impossible to ignore: Bruno Mars. For weeks, the connection between Karol G and Bruno Mars had generated enormous attention. Their collaboration Still had become a major talking point among fans, not only because of the two artists involved, but because of what the song represented. A meeting between two completely different musical worlds that somehow fit together naturally. Karol G represents the global power of Latin music, reggaeton, urbano, and contemporary pop. Bruno Mars brings a completely different musical vocabulary, built around funk, soul, R&B, pop, live instrumentation, choreography, and old-school showmanship. And then came the moment fans had been waiting for. The stage changed. The energy inside SoFi Stadium shifted, and Bruno Mars appeared. For the audience, this was the kind of surprise that immediately changes the entire atmosphere of a concert. Thousands of people were suddenly watching something that had never happened before. Karol G and Bruno Mars sharing the stage live for Still. This was not a rehearsal. This was not a studio recording. This was not another promotional appearance. This was the first ever live performance of their collaboration. And that distinction is what made the moment so significant. As Karol G stood on stage alongside Bruno Mars, the reaction from the crowd became part of the performance itself. The excitement wasn't just coming from the artists. It was coming from an audience witnessing a first. That front view angle makes the moment even more powerful because it captures the chemistry between the two performers directly from the stage perspective. Instead of seeing the performance from far away, viewers can focus on the interaction between Karol G and Bruno Mars, their movements, their expressions, and the way they command the enormous SoFi Stadium stage together. And this is where the performance becomes more than just a collaboration. It becomes a crossover moment. Karol G has spent years expanding the reach of Latin music across international markets, while Bruno Mars has built a career around creating music that crosses cultural and genre boundaries. Put them together on one stage, and suddenly Still becomes a bridge between Latin pop, R&B, soul, funk, and mainstream global music. The significance of that combination cannot be overlooked. Karol G's audience knows her for songs that have helped define modern Latin music and for performances that turn massive stadiums into celebrations. Bruno Mars, meanwhile, has become famous for delivering performances that feel less like ordinary concerts and more like full-scale entertainment spectacles. So when the two artists finally performed Still together in Los Angeles, expectations were naturally enormous, and the performance had to live up to them. From the opening moments, the focus was on the chemistry. Karol G and Bruno Mars didn't need an elaborate explanation. They simply had to perform, and that's exactly what made the moment work. The song gave both artists space to bring their own identities to the stage. Karol G carried the emotional and Latin pop presence that her fans have come to expect, while Bruno Mars added his unmistakable vocal character and performance style. The result was a live version that felt like a natural extension of the collaboration. But there was another important element: timing. A first live performance of a highly anticipated song is always different from performing an established hit. There is an element of uncertainty because fans don't know exactly how the artists will interpret the song on stage. Will the arrangement change? Will they interact differently? Will there be a surprise? Will the crowd sing along? And perhaps most importantly, will the chemistry seen in the recording translate into a live stadium environment? At SoFi Stadium, those questions were answered in front of a massive audience. The crowd became louder as the performance progressed, creating the kind of atmosphere that only happens when fans realize they are watching a moment that could become part of concert history. And there was something particularly fitting about the location. Los Angeles is one of the most important entertainment capitals in the world. It is a city where music, film, fashion, celebrity culture, and global pop culture constantly intersect. SoFi Stadium, one of the most recognizable modern stadium venues in Los Angeles, provided an enormous backdrop for a performance involving two artists with truly global audiences. Karol G bringing Bruno Mars onto her tour stage in Los Angeles was therefore more than a surprise guest appearance. It was a statement about the scale of their collaboration. Think about the contrast. One artist is one of the biggest names in Latin music. The other is one of the world's most recognizable pop and R&B performers. And together, they performed Still for the first time in front of a stadium audience. That is exactly why clips of the performance were always going to attract attention online. The front view footage gives fans an especially clear look at the interaction between the two stars. Every movement feels bigger because the stage is enormous, yet the camera perspective brings the performers closer to the audience. And then comes the moment that fans were waiting for. Karol G and Bruno Mars fully settling into the performance together. The crowd reaction grows. The energy rises. The two artists feed off the atmosphere. And suddenly the collaboration doesn't feel like a studio track anymore. It feels alive. That's the difference between hearing a song and experiencing it live. A recorded collaboration can introduce two artists to each other's audiences, but a live performance creates a completely different connection. Fans get to see how the artists communicate without words, how they share the stage, and how their individual performance styles complement one another. Karol G's confidence and emotional delivery meet Bruno Mars' polished stage presence. Her Latin influence meets his retro-inspired musical identity. Her stadium energy meets his ability to command a crowd. And Still becomes the meeting point. But there is another reason this performance matters. For Karol G, a moment like this reinforces just how far her global reach has expanded. She is no longer simply performing for a Latin American audience. Her concerts have become international cultural events, attracting fans from across the world. And for Bruno Mars, appearing alongside Karol G demonstrates the continued strength of his ability to move between musical worlds without losing his identity. This is something Bruno has done throughout his career. He can move from pop to R&B, from funk to soul, from ballads to high-energy dance records, from solo performances to collaborations. And now, with Still, the connection extends into another major chapter of global Latin music. For fans watching inside SoFi Stadium, however, the bigger story was much simpler. They finally got to see it happen. Karol G and Bruno Mars, together, live, performing Still, for the first time ever. And that is the kind of concert moment that fans remember long after the lights go down. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. The performance wasn't simply important because Bruno Mars appeared. It was important because of what this appearance could mean for the future of the collaboration. Whenever two major artists perform a new collaboration live for the first time, fans immediately begin asking the next question. Was this a one-night-only moment? Could there be more performances? Could the song become a recurring part of the tour? Could the two artists collaborate again in the future? Nobody needs to invent an answer. The performance itself is already enough to create anticipation. And that anticipation is one of the strongest forces in modern music. A song gets people interested. A collaboration gets people talking. But a surprise live performance can turn that conversation into a global event. That's what happened in Los Angeles. The SoFi Stadium performance gave Still a new dimension. Now fans aren't only listening to the song. They're watching the chemistry. They're analyzing the stage interaction. They're sharing clips. They're discussing the performance. They're comparing the live moment with the original recording. And they're asking what could happen next. That is exactly how a collaboration grows beyond the studio. And the visual side of this performance is just as important as the music. From the front view perspective, the audience gets a direct look at the two artists as they perform together. The massive stage, the lighting, the crowd, and the movements all contribute to the sense that something special is happening. Then comes the crowd. A stadium audience is never silent during a moment like this. The cheers become part of the soundtrack. Every recognizable lyric creates another reaction. Every interaction between the artists produces another wave of excitement. And when two global fanbases collide inside one stadium, the result can be enormous. Karol G fans are watching Bruno Mars step into her world. Bruno Mars fans are watching Karol G bring him into hers. And for a few minutes, those audiences become one. That is the real power of crossover music. It isn't about replacing one genre with another. It is about creating a space where different musical cultures can exist together. And still represents exactly that kind of connection. The first live performance also adds another layer to the story of Karol G's Viajando por el Mundo Tropitour. Touring is always about more than simply repeating songs from an album. Every night can become its own chapter. Different cities create different reactions. Different guests create different memories. And occasionally, a single night produces a moment that becomes bigger than the concert itself. Night 7 at SoFi Stadium now has one of those moments. Karol G's tour already carried enormous expectations, but bringing Bruno Mars onto the stage changed the conversation. Suddenly, fans weren't only talking about the set list. They were talking about Still. They were talking about Bruno Mars. They were talking about Karol G. They were talking about the first ever live performance. And they were talking about what might come next. That is the definition of a viral concert moment. And there is something else worth remembering. Bruno Mars is currently in another major chapter of his own career, with the romantic tour bringing his live show to stadium audiences and reinforcing his reputation as one of the world's biggest live performers. So seeing him step onto Karol G's stage adds another layer of excitement. This wasn't simply an appearance by a singer. This was a meeting between two artists who are operating at the highest level of global entertainment. And when artists at that level share a stage, every detail gets noticed. The entrance, the first interaction, the vocals, the choreography, the crowd reaction, the final moments. Everything becomes part of the story. That's why the front view footage is so compelling. It doesn't just show the performance, it captures the moment. You can see the artists occupying the same space, responding to the audience, and creating a performance that could never be reproduced exactly the same way again. Every live performance is temporary. The lights go down. The crowd leaves. The stage changes. But the footage remains. And that is why moments like this spread so quickly across social media. Fans can relive the performance. They can slow down specific moments. They can share their favorite interactions. They can discuss the vocals. They can debate whether this should become a permanent part of the tour. And most importantly, they can say, "I was there when it happened." That phrase matters, because firsts are rare. The first live performance of a collaboration can only happen once. There can be a second performance, a third performance, 100th performance, but there will always be only one first. And for Still, that first happened at Karol G's Night 7 show at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. That is the payoff to all the anticipation. Fans didn't just get a Bruno Mars cameo. They got the live debut of Still. They got Karol G and Bruno Mars sharing the stage. They got to hear the collaboration performed in front of a stadium crowd. And they witnessed a crossover between two enormous musical worlds. The significance goes beyond one song. It reflects the continuing globalization of music. Today, the biggest collaborations are no longer limited by language, geography, or genre. Latin music can meet R&B. Pop can meet reggaeton. Funk can meet urbano. And artists from completely different musical backgrounds can create something that connects with audiences around the world. Karol G and Bruno Mars are a perfect example of that possibility. Their first live performance of Still showed that the collaboration can move beyond headphones and streaming platforms and become a real stadium experience. And perhaps that is the most exciting part of the entire story. We don't know what comes next. Maybe Still becomes a regular highlight of the tour. Maybe the performance remains a special one-night event. Maybe fans will eventually see Karol G and Bruno Mars share the stage again. What we do know is that Los Angeles has already given fans a moment they won't forget. The lights came on. The crowd erupted. Karol G stepped into the spotlight. Bruno Mars joined her. And Still finally came alive on stage. For the first time ever. That single moment transformed a collaboration into a live memory. And if the reaction from fans is any indication, this is only going to make people even more curious about what Karol G and Bruno Mars could do together next. Because sometimes the biggest moments in music aren't announced months in advance. Sometimes they happen when the lights change, the crowd realizes who is walking onto the stage, and two superstars begin singing the song everyone has been waiting to hear. At SoFi Stadium, that moment belonged to Karol G and Bruno Mars. Still was no longer just a collaboration. It was a live experience. It was a first. It was a stadium moment. And it was a powerful reminder that when two global artists meet at the right time, the result can become much bigger than the song itself. So, after finally seeing Karol G and Bruno Mars perform Still live for the first time, the question now belongs to the fans. Should this become a regular part of Karol G's tour? Or should this first performance remain a once-in-a-lifetime moment? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more breaking music news, Bruno Mars updates, Karol G news, live performance moments, celebrity entertainment stories, and the biggest developments from the world of global pop music. Karol G and Bruno Mars continue the conversation after their Still live debut. The story did not end when the final notes of Still disappeared into the massive soundscape of SoFi Stadium. In many ways, that was only the beginning, because once Karol G and Bruno Mars walked off the stage, the performance immediately became something larger than the few minutes that fans had just witnessed. It became a moment to replay, analyze, discuss, and share. Across social media, fans were quick to focus on the same question. How did a collaboration that already sounded powerful in the studio feel when performed live? The answer was clear. Felt bigger. A stadium changes everything. A studio recording is controlled. Every vocal is carefully captured. Every instrument is balanced. And every detail can be edited until the final version sounds exactly right. A live performance is different. There is an audience reacting in real time. There are lights moving across the stage. There are thousands of voices singing along. There is adrenaline. And there is no second chance to recreate the exact same moment. That is what made the first live performance of Still so compelling. Karol G and Bruno Mars were not simply reproducing the recording. They were translating it into a stadium experience. And that distinction matters. Karol G has become known for creating concerts where the audience feels like part of the performance. Her shows are built around energy, emotion, movement, and a deep connection with her fans. Bruno Mars brings another level of live performance expertise. For years, he has built a reputation around precision, charisma, musicianship, choreography, and the ability to control an enormous audience with seemingly effortless confidence. When those two performance styles came together, the result was naturally going to attract attention. But perhaps the biggest surprise was how naturally they occupied the same stage. There was no feeling that one artist was simply visiting the other artist's concert. Instead, the performance felt like a meeting between equals. Karol G brought the world of Latin music into the moment. Bruno Mars brought his unmistakable pop, soul, funk, and R&B influence, and Still became the space where those sounds met. That is exactly why this performance has the potential to remain one of the most memorable moments of the Viajando por el Mundo Tropitour. A A tour can contain dozens of performances. Some nights are emotional, some are energetic, some contain surprise guests, but only a few moments create that immediate feeling that something historic is happening. The first live performance of a major collaboration is one of them, and the Los Angeles setting made the moment even more significant. SoFi Stadium is not an ordinary concert venue. It has become one of the most recognizable stadiums in Los Angeles, a massive entertainment destination capable of hosting some of the biggest artists and events in the world. For Karol G to bring her tour to such a stage was already a major statement. Adding Bruno Mars to that equation took the night to another level. And now fans have a visual record of it. The front view footage is particularly important because it gives viewers a direct perspective of the performance. Instead of seeing only a distant stage surrounded by thousands of people, the camera allows fans to focus on Karol G and Bruno Mars themselves. Their expressions, their timing, their movements, their interaction, their reactions to the crowd. These details can easily be missed when watching from the back of a stadium. But through the front view angle, the chemistry becomes much easier to appreciate. And chemistry is one of the most important ingredients in any collaboration. A great song can bring two artists together in a recording studio, but a great live collaboration requires something more. The artists need to trust each other. They need to understand each other's timing. They need to know when to step forward and when to give the other person the spotlight. And most importantly, they need to make the audience believe that the performance belongs to both of them. Karol G and Bruno Mars accomplished that. The crowd reaction became evidence. Every time the audience responded, the energy on stage increased. And when the performers responded to that energy, the audience became even louder. It created a feedback loop between the stage and the stadium. That is something you simply cannot reproduce in a music video. It has to happen live. And that's why concert footage can sometimes become more powerful than an official promotional video. There is emotion in knowing that the people on stage and the people watching them are experiencing the same moment at the same time. For Bruno Mars fans, the performance offered another reason to celebrate his current era. After returning to the spotlight with new music and his massive The Romantic Tour, Bruno continues to show that his appeal extends across generations and musical genres. For Karol G fans, meanwhile, the appearance reinforced her position as a global superstar capable of creating major international moments from her own stage. And for fans of both artists, the collaboration represents something even bigger. It demonstrates how modern music has become increasingly interconnected. The biggest artists are no longer confined to one market. A song can begin in one country, become popular in another, and eventually bring together artists from completely different musical backgrounds. That is the reality of global pop music in 2026, and still fits perfectly into that environment. The collaboration combines the international appeal of Bruno Mars with the enormous influence of Karol G. It brings together audiences that might not always overlap. And when those audiences meet at a stadium concert, the result can be explosive. But there is still one question hanging over the entire story. What happens next? Because the first live performance has now happened. The biggest uncertainty is no longer whether Karol G and Bruno Mars can perform, still, together. They have already proven that they can. The question is whether fans will get to see it again. Will Bruno Mars appear at another date? Will still become part of the tour's regular setlist? Could another surprise collaboration emerge? Or was the SoFi Stadium performance intentionally designed as a special one-time event? At this moment, the most important thing is not to assume an answer that hasn't been confirmed. The excitement comes from the possibility, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps fans talking. The performance created a new chapter, but it did not reveal the entire story. That is why every new Karol G concert date can now carry an extra level of anticipation. Fans know that anything can happen, and when an artist has already brought Bruno Mars onto the stage, the expectations naturally become higher. People begin wondering who could appear next. Could another major artist join her? Could another unexpected collaboration happen? Could Bruno return? Nobody knows. But that is part of what makes live music exciting. The unexpected becomes part of the experience. There is also another important factor: fan memory. For the people inside SoFi Stadium that night, this wasn't simply another song on a set list. It was the night they saw Still performed live for the first time. Years from now, fans may still remember the moment they realized Bruno Mars was coming onto the stage. They may remember the sound of the stadium. They may remember the lights. They may remember Karol G's reaction. They may remember the first notes of the song. And they may remember how quickly the crowd exploded. Those memories are impossible to duplicate. That is the true value of a first performance. It becomes part of the history of the song itself. From this point forward, whenever fans talk about Still live, the SoFi Stadium performance will naturally become part of the conversation. It becomes the reference point, the first, the original live moment, and that gives the performance a special place in the story of Karol G and Bruno Mars. The wider music industry is also paying attention to moments like this because collaborations between major global artists can create enormous cultural impact. Streaming numbers matter. Chart positions matter. Music videos matter. But live performances provide something different. They create shared experiences. A stadium full of people can turn a song into an event. And that is exactly what happened in Los Angeles. Still moved from being a collaboration people listened to into being a performance people experienced. That transition is powerful. It gives the song a second life. Fans who already knew the track now have a live memory connected to it. Fans who discovered the performance through social media may become curious about the original recording. And fans of Bruno Mars who were unfamiliar with Karol G's latest work may now explore more of her catalog. The same thing happens in reverse. Karol G's fans may discover more of Bruno Mars' music after seeing him perform beside her. That is how collaborations expand audiences. And perhaps the most interesting element is that neither artist had to abandon their identity to